Walk into any grocery store the day before a hurricane warning. Watch what disappears first. Rice, beans, pasta, canned chicken, bottled water. The basics get cleared in hours. Now picture the shelves around those empty ones. Powdered milk, canned butter, apple cider vinegar, iodized salt, hard wheat berries in the bulk aisle. Those shelves are still full. And here is the part most people get backwards. The rice and the beans are the first layer of a real pantry. They are not the whole pantry. They are the foundation. What turns that foundation into food a household can actually live on for weeks at a time is something else, a second layer most people walk straight past on the way to the rice aisle. FEMA estimates around 60% of American households do not have even 3 days of emergency food supplies. 3 days. That is not a long-term prep concern. That is a Tuesday afternoon power outage concern. And once you have the basics handled, the rice, the beans, the pasta, the canned meat, the question stops being calories and starts being something harder. How do you eat from a pantry for 3 months without quietly running down your micronutrients, your morale, and your ability to cook anything that tastes like real food? Today, we are counting down 11 foods that make up that second layer. You will get the actual shelf life on each one, the actual dollar figure, the supply chain reason it matters, and what to do about it this week without spending anything close to what you think it will cost. And the one sitting at number 1, the keystone, is not actually a food at all. Not by itself. There is an $80 reason for that, and we will get to it. We are starting at number 11. Number 11, powdered eggs. The protein your second layer pantry is almost certainly missing. Egg prices in this country roughly doubled between 2022 and 2024. A carton that ran $1.50 in 2021 was running $4 to $6 by 2024 inches most regional grocery chains. And every time there is an avian flu cycle, fresh eggs are the first protein to disappear from the shelf. Not chicken, not beef. Eggs. Here is what most people miss. A number 10 can of powdered whole eggs, Ova Easy or Augason Farms, runs $35 to $50 and contains the equivalent of around 80 eggs. Sealed, it lasts 5 to 10 years on a shelf at room temperature. Powdered eggs are not just for omelets. They go into bread, pancakes, baking, sauces, anything where eggs are an ingredient, rather than the main dish. Beans give you protein, but they do not give you the cooking versatility eggs do. Powdered eggs are how you turn a sack of flour into something that tastes like food. The practical move is simple. 1 number 10 can per adult in your household. Buy it. Seal it. Label the date. And actually open one and cook with it inside the first year, before you ever need it. A prep you have never used is a prep you do not really own. Number 10. Canned butter. Yes, real dairy butter. Shelf stable. Sealed in a can. Red Feather is the most common brand, runs $9 to $12 per 12-ounce can, and the unopened shelf life runs 2 to 5 years depending on storage conditions. Here is the math most people never run. Fat delivers 9 calories per gram. Carbohydrates and protein deliver 4. That is 125% more energy per gram of stored food. Preppers obsess over calories per pound of their stockpile and then proceed to stock low-fat foods. The math does not work. And butter is a flavor delivery system. Anything sautéed in real butter tastes like real food, not survival rations. That is not a small thing across 3 months of eating from your pantry. For a normal household, start with 2 cans per adult, stored at stable room temperature, somewhere consistent. Not the garage where temperatures swing 40 degrees between summer and winter. And if your household does not eat butter, if everyone is dairy-free, skip this one. The point is, the role it fills. The role is shelf-stable cooking fat with a long history. You can fill the same role with ghee in jars or quality coconut oil if butter does not work for you. Number 9. Freeze-dried instant coffee. And yes, this one is going to sound trivial. It is not. The National Institutes of Health has documented caffeine withdrawal as a real clinical phenomenon affecting more than half of regular coffee drinkers who stop suddenly. Headaches, fatigue, difficulty concentrating. These show up within 12 to 24 hours of skipping the morning cup, and they last anywhere from 2 days to a full week. The day everything else is harder than usual is not the day you want to add a 4-day caffeine withdrawal headache to the list. Freeze-dried instant coffee, not spray-dried. Freeze-dried has a sealed shelf life of 20 years or more. The freeze-drying process retains roughly 95% of the original flavor compounds, where spray-dried coffee loses most of them. At scale, you are looking at 5 to 10 cents per cup. Prepping is not just calories. The brain is a resource. The morning ritual is psychological infrastructure. In any extended scenario, the rituals that feel normal are the rituals that keep you functional. Here is what I would actually do. 1 large jar of freeze-dried instant per adult per year of planned coverage. Check the label. If it does not say freeze-dried, put it back. Number 8. Powdered whole milk. Not non-fat. Whole. This is where most preppers make a quiet mistake. They walk into the storage food aisle, see instant dry milk with a 25-year shelf life, and grab it. What they have actually grabbed is non-fat dry milk. 0% milkfat. The longer shelf life on non-fat is exactly because the fat has been removed. Fat is what shortens the shelf life of any dairy product, but fat is also most of what makes milk a complete food. Nido or Country Cream, both whole milk powders run $18 to $24 per 4.4-pound canister. Standard shelf life on whole milk powder is 2 to 3 years sealed. Vacuum-packed in Mylar with oxygen absorbers, you can extend that to 5 years and beyond. Whole milk powder is 28% fat by composition. That fat delivers the calcium your body can actually absorb, the calories that matter in a long-term scenario, and the cooking versatility non-fat milk does not have. And this is where the decisions get more consequential. For any household with kids or aging adults, calcium intake matters in ways most calorie spreadsheets do not track. Do not overcomplicate this. 1 canister per household member as the baseline buffer. Cool, dark, and dry. The same storage rules as every dry good on this list. Number 7. Canned oysters. A dense source of zinc per dollar in a shelf-stable form. A 3-ounce can of smoked oysters runs around $2.50 at most regional chains. Sealed shelf life is 3 to 5 years. According to USDA nutrient data, one can delivers a significant portion of an adult's daily zinc target, and CDC research suggests zinc intake runs low in a meaningful share of the U.S. population, especially in older adults. Here is the part nobody tells you. Zinc supports immune function, wound healing, and your senses of taste and smell. You cannot easily replace zinc through bulk staples. Rice does not have it. Beans have it in small amounts. Pasta has effectively none. Tuna gets the prepper attention because tuna stock's cheap and easy. Oysters do the thing tuna cannot. They deliver trace minerals that bulk calorie foods miss. There is a supply concentration angle here too. Most American oyster fishery production is concentrated along the Gulf Coast, Louisiana, and Texas, meaning a single regional weather event or fishery closure has an outsized effect on the national supply. If your household will never eat canned oysters, skip this one. The role it fills is shelf-stable trace minerals. You can cover that role with canned salmon, sardines, or smoked mussels instead. 12 to 24 cans per adult per year of coverage. And rotate them into your normal eating so you actually know how to cook with them. Number 6. Dehydrated refried beans. Not canned, not dry, dehydrated. This is a category almost no casual prepper actually stocks, because almost no casual prepper has been told the math on it. Canned refried beans run $2 a can and have a shelf life of 2 to 3 years. Dry pinto beans run $1 a pound and last decades, but they require 12 hours of soaking and an hour of cooking in actively boiling water before you can eat them. Dehydrated refried beans split the difference and beat both. A number 10 can of dehydrated refried beans, Augustin Farms, Thrive, or Mountain House, runs $20 to $25 and delivers around 30 servings. Sealed shelf life is 15 to 25 years. Rehydration is 5 minutes with hot water. No soaking, no simmering, no fuel cost beyond boiling a kettle. Here is the math that almost nobody runs. In any extended scenario, the limiting resource is usually not food itself. It is fuel and water to cook the food. Dry beans assume you have hours of cooking fuel and gallons of water to spare. Dehydrated beans assume you do not. That difference becomes significant fast. If you already stock dry beans and you have a way to cook them, you can skip this one. The role it fills is fast, low-fuel calorie protein. For most households, this is the first buy that makes sense. Number 10 can per household member as the starter buffer. And if this list is making sense so far, drop a quick comment telling me which of these 11 you already have stocked and which one surprised you. It actually helps me figure out which ones the audience already knows about and which ones to spend more time on next round. Now we move into the items that cover more than one job each. Number 5. Raw honey. Not the squeeze bottle from the grocery aisle. Pure, local, unblended honey. There is honey in the British Museum that was recovered from Egyptian tombs and is reported to still be edible. 3,000-year-old honey. That is the archaeological record. Honey is one of the most shelf-stable foods in the human pantry when it is stored correctly. But here is the part most preppers have wrong. Investigations by journalists and food researchers have suggested that a significant portion of the honey on American grocery shelves may be blended, diluted, or sourced from countries other than what the label suggests. The exact percentages vary depending on the study and the year, but the broader pattern is real. Pure local raw honey is not the same product as the cheapest squeeze bottle, even though both are sold as honey. Pure raw honey runs $8 to $15 per pound from a local apiarist. Blended grocery store honey runs $3 to $4 per pound. The price gap reflects a real difference in processing. Honey has a long history of use as a cough-soothing agent and as a topical treatment for minor wounds. Some research is ongoing in modern medical settings, particularly for burn care, but these uses should not replace medical treatment when it is available. Inside a household pantry, the more practical case for raw honey is simpler. It is a sweetener, a calorie source, a baking ingredient, and a food that does not expire in any normal sense when sealed. For a normal household, source from a local beekeeper or a verified raw producer, not the cheapest jar on the shelf. 1 quart jar per household member as a baseline. Store in sealed glass somewhere dark. If it crystallizes, that is fine. Warm the jar in water, and it returns to liquid. Number 4. Apple cider vinegar with the mother. The unfiltered, unpasteurized kind, where you can see the cloudy strands at the bottom of the bottle. Shelf life is essentially indefinite when stored in sealed glass somewhere cool and dark. Price is $4 to $6 per liter at most regional chains, less if you buy by the gallon. Here is the reason it earns a slot on this list. Apple cider vinegar is one of maybe 3 liquids in a normal household pantry that does multiple unrelated jobs well. Pickling medium, you can preserve fresh vegetables for months in vinegar brine when refrigeration is unreliable. Cleaning agent diluted vinegar handles most household surface cleaning, and the bottle does not expire. Solid acid, marinade base, mild laundry additive. Some research suggests apple cider vinegar may have a modest effect on blood sugar response after meals, and it has a long history of folk use for digestive complaints. The evidence is mixed, and it is not a substitute for medical care. Inside a pantry strategy, the real case for ACV is the multi-use one. 5 single-use products take 5 times the shelf space of 1 multi-use product. The practical move is simple. 2 1-liter bottles per household, stored cool and dark. Refill from gallon jugs as needed. Bragg's is the most common brand, but any unfiltered, unpasteurized apple cider vinegar with the mother works. Number 3. Canned coconut milk. One of the most versatile single ingredients most preppers do not stock. A 13.5 ounce can runs $1.50 to $2.50 at most grocery chains and delivers around 445 calories per cup at full fat. Sealed shelf life is 2 to 5 years, depending on the brand and storage temperature. And here is the supply chain reality. Almost nobody mentions the great majority of canned coconut milk on American shelves comes from Southeast Asia, mostly the Philippines, Thailand, and Indonesia. That is not a doomsday concern. That is the ordinary math of single-region supply concentration. Any shipping disruption, any regional weather event, any tariff change, and the price moves fast. The availability moves faster. Here is what most people miss. Single-source supply chains are the actual prepper concern, not the apocalypse. Just the ordinary, documented fact that some of the food you eat regularly depends on a single region thousands of miles away to keep moving on schedule. The food itself does 5 different jobs. Cooking fat. Dairy substitute for households with lactose intolerance. Electrolyte source. Soup and curry base. Baking ingredient. 12 to 24 cans per adult per year of coverage. Full fat only. Unsweetened only. The light versions and the sweetened versions are not the same product strategically. Number 2. Iodized salt. Bulk. Sealed. Not the little blue cylinder from the grocery aisle. Bulk iodized salt runs around 50 cents a pound when you buy by the 25-pound bag. Shelf life is indefinite as long as it stays dry and sealed. There is no biological substitute for iodine. Your thyroid requires it, and public health data suggests iodine intake has been trending lower in parts of the U.S. population in recent decades, particularly among households that have shifted away from iodized table salt towards sea salt, Himalayan salt, and kosher salt, none of which are iodized by default. That trend matters. Coastal populations historically got some iodine from seafood. Inland populations got most of theirs from iodized salt, which is exactly why the iodization program was rolled out in the United States in 1924. It worked. Goiter rates collapsed within a generation. The modern shift away from iodized salt has quietly reversed part of that public health gain in some households. Salt is also the oldest preservation medium in human history. Curing meat, brining vegetables, fermenting cabbage into sauerkraut, drawing moisture out of fish and pork to make them shelf-stable. None of those preservation techniques work without it. You cannot synthesize salt at home. There is no workaround. For a normal household, one 25-pound bag per adult, stored in food-grade sealed containers somewhere dry. Cheapest, serious prep on this entire list. Take a breath here. We are at the keystone. Number 1. And here is where this list stops being about food. Hard red wheat berries plus a manual grain mill. Together, as one system. Not the morale layer, not the supporting layer, not the supplement, the foundation that makes the second layer pantry actually work. Hard red wheat berries whole, unmilled, sealed in food-grade buckets with mylar liners and oxygen absorbers, have a documented shelf life of 30 years and beyond. That comes from the long-term grain storage research done by Brigham Young University and the Latter-day Saints Church Food Storage Program, which is widely considered the gold standard for long-term food storage data. They have opened buckets stored for decades. The wheat was still viable, still milled into flour, still baked into bread. Bulk pricing on hard red wheat runs 90 cents to $1.20 per pound. A 25-pound bag runs $35 to $45. Compare that to rice, what most preppers default to, and the price per pound is competitive. The shelf life is not even close. Around 80% of U.S. hard red wheat production comes from Kansas, Nebraska, North Dakota, and the surrounding plains states. That is domestic supply. Lower food chain dependency. The wheat in the bag at the bulk feed and grain supplier near you almost certainly came from inside the country. The product itself does more jobs than any other single shelf-stable food on this list. Ground into flour, wheat berries become bread, pasta, crackers, tortillas, flatbread, pancakes, noodles. Cooked whole, they become porridge and pilaf. Sprouted, they become fresh greens. Fermented, they become the starting point for sourdough culture. No other grain in the human food system covers that many roles from a single sack of stored seed. So why does almost nobody stock them? Here is the $80 reason. Wheat berries require a grain mill, a manual mill Country Living, Wonder Mill Junior, or a basic Victorio with a grain attachment. Runs $60 to $100 at the entry level. Quality electric mills run $200 to $400. That is the entire barrier between owning rice and owning a real second-layer foundation. Most preppers refuse to make the $80 decision, so they default to rice and stop there. The grain is the food. The mill is the key. The bread you bake from it is the proof that the rest of the pantry is real. This is the first buy that makes sense if you have the basics already handled. 50 to 100 pounds of hard red wheat per adult per year of coverage, in food-grade sealed buckets with mylar liners and oxygen absorbers, and one manual grain mill in the household under $100 at the entry level. entirely independent of electricity. Pull back for a moment, because the 11 items together make a different point than any one of them does alone. Powdered eggs, canned butter, freeze-dried coffee, powdered whole milk, smoked oysters, dehydrated refried beans, raw honey, apple cider vinegar with the mother, canned coconut milk, iodized salt, hard red wheat berries with a mill. None of these replace the basics. Rice and beans and pasta and canned meat are still the first layer of any real pantry. These 11 are the second layer, the one that makes the first layer actually usable for more than a few days. The first principle: function over appearance. Each item earns its slot through a role: fat, calcium, trace minerals, iodine, versatility, morale, not through how it looks on a shelf. The second principle: strategic completeness. The 11 items together cover what a real household needs to function for an extended period, not just survive on paper. The third principle: the brain is a resource. Coffee, butter, and honey are on this list because surviving on a spreadsheet is one thing. Living through 3 months on a pantry that has nothing in it that tastes like home, that is a different problem nobody plans for. One important note before we close: this is food storage information, not medical advice. People with thyroid conditions, food allergies, diabetes, kidney issues, or any medical condition affected by diet should talk to a qualified professional before relying heavily on any single food. The point of this list is variety and role coverage, not maxing out on any one item. It is also worth being clear about what this video is not saying. This is not a prediction of collapse. This is not an argument for extreme stockpiling. It is a practical case for building the second layer of a pantry that does not depend on grocery store throughput week to week. On each of your next 3 shopping trips, add 2 items from this list to your cart. 2 items. At a normal grocery budget, that addition is barely noticeable on the receipt. Done consistently over 3 trips, you will look at your pantry and find you have built a real, usable buffer. The decision to start this week costs almost nothing. The decision to wait costs more than most people understand. One last thing: which item on this list are you going to pick up first? Let me know in the comments. It is a good way to make sure you actually do.